Hello YouTube and welcome to another episode of People of the Elder Scrolls. This short little episode series about one person in the Elder Scrolls lore. These videos I usually make as a sort of bonus video next to the, one video per week. So without taking much more of your time, let's kick off with this video about High King Torygg. High King Torygg is actually one of the most interesting characters in all of Skyrim. However, we meet him only once, and briefly, in Sovngarde. There he wears a unique set of robes that I personally really like, but we're not here to talk about clothing. Anyway, most people when they think about Torygg think about this story. Guy inherits the throne from his father, is a weak king, only seduced by Imperial coin and is an Imperial puppet. Ulfric then kills him, hero! Civil war started, done. Flat, uninteresting character that they just brushed off like, we need a reason for Ulfric to start his rebellion. However, there is more to Torygg than meets the eye, and the general impression that most people have is actually quite wrong. So let's start at the beginning. Torygg was born a prince. He was the son of Islot, the High King of Skyrim during the Great War. When Islot died, somewhere after the year 174 of the 4th era, his son Torygg was unsure if he should succeed him as the High King. He was unsure if he was to be the next ruler and if it wasn't time for someone else to take up the title of High King, someone strong that would be able to guide Skyrim through hard times. So he called together the ancient mood of Jarls, which in Skyrim's history always chose a new king when the old High King did not have any heirs. This mood then voted that Torygg was the right person for the job and appointed him as High King. Even Ulfric, the then Jarl of Windhelm, so part of the mood, voted for him. With his doubts gone after the mood chose him, he became the High King. However, one of his Jarls, the Jarl of Windhelm, Ulfric Stormcloak, had been quite vocal at the mood that he wanted Skyrim to be independent from the Empire since the Empire signed the White Gold Concordat. Torygg respected Ulfric, a great deal even. Ulfric was a Nord hero, a hero of the Great War, and everybody around Skyrim knew him. I mean, he grew up with the Greybeards. And therefore, Torygg respected his views, and only according to some in Torygg's close circles, he would have actually tried to secede from the Empire had Ulfric only asked this of him. Everyone expected Ulfric to ask Torygg to leave the Empire, and when Ulfric made it known in the year 201 that he was coming to Solitude to talk with Torygg, everyone expected him to talk to Torygg about an eventual independence of Skyrim and how that would be possible. However, yes, Ulfric used his voice on Torygg, it wasn't to talk to him. When he arrived, he actually challenged Torygg to a duel, and with the power of the Thu'um, he violently killed Torygg. Some say he even shouted him apart, but according to Ulfric he just made him stagger and, stabbed him with a sword. But whichever one it is, I leave up to you. Whether this was ethical or not, I discussed in my video on this duel. For that video I post a link in the description. It's actually a lengthy discussion about all the pros and cons and why it is ethical and why it isn't good. You should really watch it, it's really interesting, I've heard from the comments. All I will say about it here is that technically it was legal what Ulfric did, according to ancient Nordic traditions. However, what he did with his voice, knowing that he was going to win, even if he just used the sword and then still used the voice, I mean, it's the equivalent of a blades master fighting with a student with the sword, but then suddenly pulling up a gun and shooting him, even though knowing that he would beat the student eventually anyway. So it's kind of douchebaggy, but even though Torygg faced him nonetheless, respecting the ancient Nordic duel traditions, even if it would mean his own unfair death. He was a true Nord, through and through. But with that said, we reached a much more interesting part of Torygg. Torygg was not actually fully against the Stormcloaks, and he was not fully pro-Empire either, he was pro-Skyrim. He was the High King of Skyrim, and he was supposed to take all of Skyrim's people's wishes into account, and not just his own or that of the Empire. And he did. While Ulfric's claims of wanting independence were borderline treason, Torygg respected it. And while he was of the opinion that Skyrim would be better off with the Empire, he understood why the Stormcloaks wanted independence. And with good argument, Ulfric might have actually able to convince him to leave the Empire. That's literally stated in the game. Because, again, Torygg respected Ulfric and he respected the Stormcloaks because they were his people. He was a real king, he tried to do what was best for his people. However, if his people wanted independence, he is willing to do that, even if, well, he himself isn't fully in favor of it. I personally think that if Torygg would have tried to gain independence from the Empire, it would have actually worked out great. Because Torygg knew that Skyrim and the Empire could not stand alone against the Aldmeri Dominion. They need each other. Therefore he would probably try to broker an independence deal, but with a strong alliance, respecting the wishes of all Skyrim's people. Due to Ulfric's propaganda, Torygg is usually seen as an Imperial puppet, only there for the Imperial coin. But that propaganda is, well, merely used to justify Ulfric's means. I mean, it's one side of the story, not nuanced at all. As Torygg was actually a true Nordic High King. Not as fearsome as Isgrim or clever as Harald, but he was chosen by the mood, listened to his people with a nuanced view, and was, if convinced with good arguments, willing to go against his own judgment if his people wanted to do that. At the end of the day, I think it's a shame that people only listen to Ulfric's propaganda about Torygg and don't actually try to get a more nuanced view. I mean, Torygg was no Imperial puppet, nor was he a Stormcloak rebel. He was a king. One that wanted to listen to and fight for his people and his traditions, even if it would mean his own death. And well, that was the story of Torygg. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything, let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions for future videos. Give the video a like and subscribe to me if you like the video. If you want to have contact with me, my Instagram and Discord are in the description. And if you want to support me in a more personal way, there's my Patreon, where you get all sorts of little Imperial knowledge perks, but you have to view the Patreon page for that. I want to keep this video short. So, with that said, I will see you all in the next video.